This class is concerned with time management. Now, being able to manage your time by the use of tools, resources and skills refers to time management. So time management is trying to meet obligations for delivery of particular tasks, meet the obligations in terms of the timing. If they've been promised for a certain time, trying to achieve that target. And this is done by the use of tools and resources and skills to try and meet obligations or pledges that have been made regarding certain tasks. There are many different strategies that individuals may adopt in order to help them deal with the pressures from their daily lifestyle. We've all got pressures in terms of study and working, leisure, family, all sorts of commitments, and we need to juggle these in order to ensure that we meet what we're promising, and only to take on what we know we can deliver. So all of us have many pressures in our lives, and we try to use time management techniques in order to meet our obligations in the various parts of our life. The following skills are useful in helping individuals to manage their time effectively. For example, setting goals, making sure that the goals are achievable and that they are realistic. They can be achieved within the time frame that's been set or agreed. Organising. We have to be organised, and we have to ensure that we have set out a plan to achieve the goals or the objectives that we have promised, and that the plan is organised, it's structured. And we can prioritise. We can give pressing demands most attention and give them first attention. The lesser requirements can come later. So we prioritise within the set of requirements that we face. So we plan and we avoid procrastination. We avoid trying to sidestep our obligations. We don't get sidetracked. We take on our obligations straight on, and we try to achieve what we said we would deliver. That's the essence of good time management. Now, there are various techniques that we can adopt in looking at this, and let's go through a few of them. The first one is quite straightforward and one we do all the time. It's simply to have a to-do list. A to-do list involves keeping and maintaining a diary or a daily planner, and to-do lists are very effective methods for maintaining your daily errands, your daily requirements. So a to-do list will be the things we need to do over the day. Clearly we can prioritise within that list. Certain things are more important than others. So we can move tasks around according to their priority. But at the end of the day, the to-do list should have been achieved, because that is what we promised. That's what was required of us in that particular day. And we had to achieve those tasks. Individuals can use to-do lists, diaries and planners to jot down daily tasks, set reminders for appointments and deadline dates. So to-do lists are a very useful tool in getting us organised to manage our time effectively. It allows individuals to prioritise, as I said earlier. It prioritises the tasks, and it moves the important and urgent tasks to the front to make sure that they are done and they're delivered firstly. Now, the benefits of a to-do list, well, provides a better focus on what tasks need to be achieved and by when. So just by looking at the list of requirements for the day, It's clear what must be done first and when it must be achieved, and it gives us some background into what we need to do. And this could be applied to our personal lives as well as our business lives. We need to do the shopping. We need to clean the flat or the house in which we live. We need to do certain jobs, and there's priority. We need to pay bills at certain times and don't leave them too long, and so on. So we have a list which, if you like, a global to-do list, our business one, our work one, our professional one, which itemizes what we must do in the work setting, and we have a personal one which organizes us as individuals and enables us to be efficient outside of the workplace. Another benefit is we have a sense of accomplishment when we tick off each task as completed. It's quite nice when we have a long list of tasks to do, and when we complete one, it's done. We can put a line through it and say that's completed. It's a nice feeling. But we can track our progress by looking at what's left and what priority the various tasks have, and how well we're doing, how much time is left for us to achieve what we set out to achieve in the day. And what we set out to achieve in the day obviously are the points on our to-do list. There is better control, which prevents you from becoming sidetracked. Because we're looking at what has to be done, our to-do list, there's less chance of sidetracking, going off and watching a video, or when you go shopping, going to an area that you hadn't planned to visit in the shop, or in work, spending too much time talking to colleagues when it would be better to focus in on what was required on the list. So to-do lists are good ways in which we can structure and organize our time and manage our time. Now, setting goals. Well, setting yourself goals is a very different method. Keep in mind your goals are SMART. Now, we use this term SMART a lot in business education. It's an anagram. The tasks we take on have to be very specific. They have to be measurable and achievable and so on. So they have to be tasks which are realistic. Now, the SMART anagram is dealt with in many videos throughout the course of classes in this module and in other modules, so I'm not going to go into it here, but setting goals requires tasks to be very specific. It requires the tasks to be measurable. We have to be able to measure them. They have to be achievable. And they have to be achieved within a certain time frame. So all of these are important. Setting goals provides initiatives and focus on what needs to be achieved and how you intend to achieve your goals. Setting out the goals gives us something to aim at. If we don't have something to aim at, we can drift. We can drift off course. We can waste time. We can prevaricate. We can spend time doing nothing or wasting time. There's no focus to us. So having a goal means we're moving in a particular direction and we have purpose. Goals can be set using an action plan template where individuals can effectively review and follow their goals. Having an action plan, something which we must achieve. We've set ourselves these targets and we must achieve them. We derive our goals based on that, on this template. And this is what we must achieve. These goals are important. So we focus in on the goals. And when we've achieved our goals, we reward ourselves. Many templates suggest that when you've achieved a goal, you can give yourself half a day off, or you can relax for a couple of hours, or you can treat yourself to looking at something else that otherwise you would not have had the time to do. But once you've achieved your goal, many templates suggest that you have a reward at the end. Some time off, or an extra long coffee break, or whatever it is. You have some reward at the end. Procrastination is the big problem. One of the main reasons individuals struggle to accomplish tasks is due to the fear of the unknown. When we set a task, we're not quite sure what we're going to encounter, what issues we're going to face, what problems we're going to face, and this is when we start to struggle. So it's important to be able to break down the task into smaller subtasks which we know we can achieve. And if we can achieve the subtasks, when we add it all up, we will achieve the main task. Sometimes with procrastination we try to avoid negative response, and we stay clear of the urgent tasks. We simply don't even take on the urgent tasks because we don't want to be laughed at or mocked by colleagues. You tried to do it and you failed. You tried to do it too fast and you fell on your face. You look ridiculous. You have messed up. So we try to miss out on those negative comments, and sometimes we don't even attempt to take on the urgent tasks because we don't want to look foolish. So we try to justify our time in doing something else. That's procrastination. That's avoiding the issue completely. Individuals need to overcome their fear of doing tasks that they don't want to, and they will realize that the assumption was far worse than they assumed, which is often the case. It's often the case that our imagination exaggerates the problem. But when we actually start to do it, it becomes manageable. It may be the case, as I said earlier, the task is big and the task is complicated, but break it down if possible into subtasks and try to achieve each of the subtasks. And when they're all added up, we've achieved the overall task. But sometimes our minds make it into a big problem, make something perhaps that's quite small into a big problem. And we have the fear of looking foolish if we take it on, and we don't want to take on something new as well. We're afraid of attempting something difficult and something new. So we try to avoid it, and that is that's a main problem. That's a big problem when we come to time management and looking at what we need to do over the course of the day. We should improve our organization skills. A method of developing your organizational skills is through organizing your time. Organizational skills and time organizing skills go hand in hand. Organization skills means being able to juggle the various demands within the organization and do them effectively. In other words, having good time management skills. So they are interrelated. They are closely bound together. It's wise to keep a log where you can. Record all your daily activities. Try to make a note of what you've done. It's a good idea to just keep a diary of who you saw and what was agreed and what time you saw that person, and obviously the date you saw them. What was the context and what was discussed. It doesn't have to be an elaborate note, just something to help the memory or something to account for that period. And if it's not a meeting with a person, if it's a task you've taken on yourself, make a note of it. That at a certain time you logged on to the computer and you attempted to do the following and you countered the following problem. Just make a note of it. And again, you've got a record that you've attempted it, you've made a fair and honest attempt, and colleagues will support efforts like that. They will understand that you were trying. From the log you can determine where in your day there were times when you were most productive and where there are times when you were not being very productive at all, where there was time wastage. But by looking back on the log, you can see what you've achieved, what tasks you've undertaken, where you've achieved, and where you have not achieved, and perhaps why you haven't achieved, what went wrong, or what issues were encountered, what unexpected issues perhaps arose when you attempted to achieve something. But you have a log of what happened. Now, keeping a log, well, a log can be structured in the following way. Keep a 7-day chart and record your activities from the moment you wake up. Now, this is probably far too detailed and perhaps a bit over the top. I'll give it to you because it appears in some texts, but it's highly recommended perhaps that you focus in on keeping a log at the times when it's absolutely necessary to keep the log. And as I said, the log doesn't have to be detailed, just a few lines to explain what happened. It's probably best to focus in on your work time period. But this particular one is a 7-day complete log of your life, and it's mentioned in some text, so I'll give it to you here. And there we go. We wake up at 9:30. This is obviously a student chart. Students tend to wake up at strange times and go to bed at strange times. Well, this seems to be a very strange student. Most students don't go to bed until, I don't know, very late, I presume. But wake up at 9:30, 10 o'clock breakfast, leave for work or leave for a lecture, 11 o'clock first lecture, so it is a student. 1 o'clock have lunch, 2 o'clock go to the library, 3 o'clock listen to music, 5 o'clock watch some TV, go to the gym at 6. Not a lot of study going on in this student's life by the look of it. 7 o'clock come home and have dinner, still no study by the look of it. 8 o'clock do some job hunting, still no study. 9 o'clock go to bed. Okay. Should squeeze in a shower somewhere along the line perhaps. It may be useful. Going back over this, you can see what is the most productive times. Well, it depends on what period of the student's life you're at here. If the student's in the final year, job hunting may be very productive. Going to the library and start to draft an assignment, that could be very productive as well. So those are two good things to get into. And the time wastage could be listening to music and watching some TV. Well, that's a very detailed approach, and as I said, most people would not run their lives according to this. This is more for a robot than for a human. In work, I think we would have a log from the time we start, and we would simply record in the log the times and what we attempted to do in the times and what was the outcome. If we had a meeting, what was agreed at the meeting, what was said, what problems were identified, and so on. And we would record the times and the date and who was there and what was the issue and what was the outcome. So that sort of log would be sufficient. This type of log is very regimented. It's very detailed. But it is possible to see productive times and non-productive times. There is another argument here that the time wastage may not be time wastage. As humans, we do need to relax. We just don't need to relax all the time, but we do need to have periods in our working day when we can go and be on our own and relax. Let our mind and body find its equilibrium. It's just that obviously we tend to abuse it and we tend to have too much time to relax, but time wastage is perhaps a bad way of putting it as well. But that's it gets mentioned in some of the textbooks, so we just put it in. There's also an approach called the urgent important matrix, and we can see how this one works. Some individuals are dedicated, hard-working and very organized. However, they fail to manage their time because they focus on tasks, on task completions that are unimportant. So they're very hard-working people, very organized, very dedicated, just they're doing the wrong tasks. They're focusing in on tasks that are not very important. That's possible. They're efficient at task completion, but they're not very effective. They get a lot done. It's just that they're not effective because they're not doing the right tasks. They're not doing the big main tasks that are required first. The urgent important matrix can help determine between important, urgent and unimportant tasks. The matrix helps us to be effective as well as efficient. Important that tasks that aim to achieve your goal. It's important to take on the tasks that are most important first, to prioritize, in other words, to deal with the ones which are pressing. And urgent, well, tasks that need immediate attention to avoid any unfavorable consequences. These are the urgent tasks. So if we just plot this, we would have horizontal axis with urgent and not urgent, and vertical axis, not important and important. And we could just simply fill it out like that, and into these boxes we can write what's urgent, what's not urgent, what's important and what's not important. So there may be something that is important and urgent, in which case do it right now. It's urgent and it's important. Do it now. It could be urgent and not important. So you could complete it. It's not important, so you could complete it or reject it. It's not important, but it's urgent, but it's just not important. It couldn't perhaps be it's not urgent and it's not important. Well, if it's not urgent and not important, forget it. Don't waste time on it. Or it could be not urgent and important. So it's important, so it must be done sometime, but it's just not urgent, so it must be planned to do it later. So these are various approaches to time management. Of these techniques, the to-do list is probably one of the better ones. It doesn't have to be very sophisticated and very detailed. We are human beings, after all. But it's just keep a note of what you did. Started work at 9 a.m., attempted to do the following, encountered this problem, suggested this course of action, will return to this task at 12 a.m. or 12 p.m. Later, and had a meeting with so-and-so. It was agreed to do this. This is what has already been completed. The following tasks are urgent and need to be completed today. So we'll return to these at 1 p.m. And out of this, a schedule for the day's activities is being developed, and it'll enable you to focus on what is required. The matrix at the end is an interesting approach, simply filling out these boxes writing into the boxes what's important, what's urgent, what's not urgent, and so on. That's good as well. It's an approach and can be used. That's all I'm going to do on this session of time management. So I'm going to leave it at that and say thank you for watching.